Semaj, last year this game against Cincinnati didn't end the way you wanted it to. Can you just talk about heading into the beginning of this year? Is it something that you kind of had circled on your calendar to get ready for?
Yeah, I really did have a circle on my calendar. So, this should be a good game for us. I think everybody's ready to play. And we have a good game plan going into the game. So, I feel like everybody hyped and ready for the game.
You grew up around here. What did the game mean to you when you were growing up watching it?
I don't know. I know when I committed to Xavier, it was everything.
Okay.
Playing against UC and being from Cincinnati. So now it's just, I just want to win. That's all I care about. I don't care how we do it. I just want to get it done.
But then before you committed, though, it wasn't something where, as a fan, just looking from the outside, that you took on a little bit more. You knew it was Xavier and UC playing?
Yeah, to me, it was just real serious. The game was real serious and physical. But other than that, I didn't really look at it as way just a big-time game.
Semaj, with the cramping issue, I mean, it happened last year in this game. It happened in the Bahamas. With it being a game where you're going to be emotional early, you're going to be exerting a lot of energy, are you doing anything differently to sort of get ready for this one, or taking any extra precautions?
No, just eating right and drinking a lot of water. Try to keep drinking rich with water. Have water all the time. Yeah, that's about it.
Matt, you were around last year when the team played in Cincinnati. Is there a different kind of vibe or excitement, this year, just knowing that it's playing in Cincinnati?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me personally, I feel a little more excited this year if I could play. But even last year, being on the bench, I was, everyone knows that it's a big game. There's no going around that and trying to deny it. But yeah, this year especially, I think our team's already, Coach Mack's done a great job in practice, sort of, explaining and showing through his emotions that, this is a big game, and if you can't get excited for this one, you might not have balls. So.
You talked about the matchup inside. I mean, this year, you guys have size. They're a little smaller.
Yeah, we know we're a little bit, I could say, a little bit bigger front court, back court, whatever, I don't know, lingo, front court, there we go. But we know that they're a really good offensive rebounding team. No matter, however, what their size is, they send their bigs to the glass, and they do a great job. They're really physical, very strong, and that's something that we'll have to deal with. And I think we'll be all right with that. Just got to make sure that we're as physical as they are, and I don't think that will be an issue, especially with the circumstances surrounding the game of how big a game it is.
But with the rebounding, that's something you guys have struggled with for 4 straight games, and I know Coach said that you got to find a way to figure it out. Have you done anything different to try to figure that out? Or?
Just in practice, we've really been stressing it. It's something where communication along with physicality can be the key to fixing that issue, and we've done a lot of practice on making sure that we're talking through every drill and that we're physical, and we'll be fine.
You've been through a stretch where there's some close games, some win, some loss. The last couple you won that are close. You probably wanted to win by more, but does that teach you anything? You get anything out of that? A certain toughness or building some character, I guess, playing in those kind of games? You
definitely learn from the closer games for us, especially having a younger group of guys. It's been something where, although we do want to win games by bigger margins, that's ultimately the goal. We've been able to understand, how we have to deal with press breakers, how we have to take care of the ball, make free throws. We've got a lot of stuff where, the younger guys, it's not going to be their first experience if it's, a close game with 10, 12, however many thousand people watching. It's something where I think, they'll be a little more adapt to the situation, and they'll be able to handle it a little bit better.
So, Ajay, they've been coming out and pressing a good bit. You expect them to really come after you, and also given the fact, like Rick brought up about the cramping and all that, they're probably going to try to wear you out, right?
Yeah, I know last year they pressed me a lot too, tried to get the ball out of my hands, but I feel like our guys ready to make plays, so I give it up if I got to, if they come and press me. So.
Where do you think you are now as a player versus where you were last year at this time?
What you mean? What you mean, bro?
I mean, you were a freshman in that game. You had the cramping. So coming in as a sophomore, you've been on a tear lately the last 3 games. Do you feel just more confident with any aspect of your game? Or you just feel like it's you just all around a little bit more?
Yeah, all around, just confident. I have confidence in my players, my teammates to make plays. So, I feel like last year was kind of a struggle. We really wasn't as talented. This year we got more talent. So.
And are you feeling more consistent at the free throw line just from the last couple games?
Yeah, I feel way more confident going to the free throw line. I don't really care about getting fouled. Now I kind of look for fouls, creating contact. So, yeah, I'm confident going to the free throw line now.
Semaj, there's been some things written, some things talked this week about this game isn't as big as it used to be. There isn't the same kind of hype that there used to be. As somebody who played in it last year and getting ready for it this week, what do you feel? Do you feel like this game still is as big as it ever was, or do you feel like it's missing something?
No, I still feel like it's a big game, especially for me because I'm from here. So, I don't know, the hometown kid, I always want to be the one winning the game. So, I feel like it's a big game every year. I feel like it's always going to be a big game. So.
Matt, you're from Northern Ohio. Did you know anything about this game before last year, other than what you'd heard? And then was it any sort of an eye-opener when you saw it on the floor?
Being from Ohio, you've always heard about Cincinnati and Xavier, UC and Xavier. The way I compared it to is sort of like the Catholic rivalry in high school for us, St. Edward and St. Ignatius. If you're from up north, you know about that. And coming in, I maybe didn't know about all the energy that would be around it, but immediately from when I sat out last year and sat on the bench and just took a look around, you immediately knew that field was something of, everyone was charged into it, everyone loved it, and, the week leading up to it, the 2 weeks leading up to it, people are talking about it. And so it's something where I felt that in high school with our rivalry, and it's something that I'm glad I get to continue that sort of atmosphere in college.
Everybody kind of deals with emotions in big games like this different. Do you feel pressure at this week, at all getting ready for this game? There's so many people on campus and so many people in town. You kind of choose their sides, and for all the bragging rights and everything that goes with it. Do you feel pressure to play every game?
I think you definitely do. And I mean, to say you don't would kind of be trying to downplay it. But I think a lot of the guys on our team deal well with the pressure. And one thing for me is I think I play better when I have a lot of pressure on me. It's a game where I enjoy having fun in this type of atmosphere. I'm not a guy who's gonna get nervous, get sweaty palms. I enjoy the atmosphere. It's fun for me. It's what makes me have fun in practice, have fun. I enjoy the pressure of people around you cheering, people yelling. It makes it a better atmosphere for me, at least personally. And I know a lot of our teammates are looking forward to it. I don't think anyone's nervous about it.
Chris, you've talked about with the destination of the game unknown in the future that you want the game to come back to campus sites. Can you talk about that? And also when you think that you would like it to be played?
Well, that's just one man's opinion. This is a collaborative decision, between our people here at Xavier and the University of Cincinnati. So there are a lot of hands in this decision. If you're asking me my opinion, I'd prefer it to be on campus, and it's been that way for such a long time. And the incident that happened a couple years ago, was a very impactful one. It was one that there were a lot of lessons learned on both sides. The kids that were involved in that incident have gone on to have great success, and they learned a lot from it. And really, the only thing that reminds our program or me personally of the incident is the fact that we're playing the game at US Bank Arena. And they've done a great job, but the excitement level that's felt when the game is on campus is one of a kind. You look at the pageantry around the country for games like Duke and North Carolina, USC Notre Dame in football. I mean, those aren't played at neutral sites. Those are played on campus, where we have, over 1,000 students camp out for 4 days to get tickets. Those are memories that our students here at Xavier will have for the rest of their life. And, when you're holding it at US Bank Arena, which seats, I think, 15,000, 16,000, and barely 9,000 tickets are sold, and a lot of people have hit me and said, it doesn't seem like as much interest as there has been in the past. I think that's a major reason. I think the pageantry's lost. Again, I know Mick feels a lot differently, and I respect them for that difference of opinion. But that's, if you ask me, that's my personal opinion. I think the game needs to be played. As Father Graham said years ago, we're just merely the custodians of the game. And I want to make sure that the game continues to be played for all the attention that it brings to the city, the positive attention. You know, there are great kids on both sides of the rivalry. You know, we have shared in community service activities with one another. Our players have grown up with their players, whether it's AAU, whether it's over at Woodward High School in the Summer League. That incident 2 years ago changed a lot of people. It changed the guy that's behind the microphone. It changed the perspective I think our players have of the game. And again, one man's opinion, I'd love for it to return to campuses.
What about when it would be played? Do you think it could be played in January, a little bit later?
You know, I would tell you that whether it's played in early November or whether it's played in February, December, January, it's going to be a game that carries a lot of significance for the city of Cincinnati. You know, dates have to be worked out. You know, you've got two schools with exam schedules. You've got non-conference games that, you know, are sort of carved out. You know, you've got exempt events. You got your own conference season to worry about. So sometimes picking a date is very, very difficult to be fair. But I don't really have a preference on when that date's circled in the calendar.
How big of a game is this in terms of your overall schedule when you look at your guys' ultimate goal of getting into the NCAA and being there at the end of the year?
Well, I think the coach speak answer is it's just one game. But having played in the game, having coached the game, it only counts for one game. But the emotion that you feel as a player, the emotion in the building, it's surreal. And again, you have to be able to handle it. You have to be able to play with composure. You have to be able to play with toughness. And then when the dust settles and the game is decided and you move on to the next day, you have to be able to get past the game, win or lose. And a lot of times that's easier said than done. It's certainly a game that helps your resume because both teams are year in, year out extremely strong. And I think that's another reason why the game needs to continue to be played because history will show that the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee rewards people that play each other.
Nick, Mick sounded convinced it would continue the game. I'm hearing you say, you know, kind of if and that. Are you convinced it will continue or not?
Yeah, I think it will. You know, I don't want to sound hesitant. I just, again, that's above me. You know, I'm one person, you know, one person's opinion. You know, that's all I represent. But I do know that Xavier wants to play the game. I know Father Graham, Greg Christopher. You know, we feel very strongly that it's great for our city. You know, born and raised, well, I shouldn't say born, but certainly raised here. You know, I can remember the game as, you know, when I was in second grade. And so I think I would be very disappointed if it ended. It did. It did. You know, just, again, nothing against U.S. Bank Arena, but it's a municipal building. It just doesn't have the same energy when you go into the Cintas Center for the Crosstown. You know, it doesn't have the same feel when you go over to UC and you're pulling the bus up after a 2-mile, you know, bus trip. It's just different.
Semaj was in here talking about how he had this full circle because he was cramping last year and not being able to play much in the second half. Do you think he'll play with a different kind of emotion in this game because of what happened last year to him?
I think Semaj is a competitor. I think he feels like he didn't play his best and, you know, wasn't able to play in the second half and was disappointed in that. You know, we were leading at halftime, but, you know, a game is decided in both halves, not just in one. And UC played much better than we did in the second half. And he wasn't out there for the majority of the time. And so anytime that, you know, you don't play your best, you want to redeem yourself. And, you know, a local kid that grows up here in the city of Cincinnati, he has friends that, you know, root for Xavier. He has friends that root for UC. Heck, he probably has relatives that root for UC. I know I do. And so, you know, it's, again, I think something that, you know, is a personal challenge anytime you're a competitor.
How would you describe your relationship with Mick
A very good one. You know, we manage our own teams during the year. I have a ton of respect for what Mick's done at the University of Cincinnati, both as an assistant coach and when he took over, a lame duck program. They weren't recruiting for a whole year. I think they had like 3 or 4 scholarship players at best. And to having gone to 3 NCAA tournaments in a row, I think he's done an incredible job, and I've told him so. But during the year, very rarely will I pick up the phone, and call him and ask him what he thinks. Certainly not leading up to our game. Maybe afterwards. Every once in a while we have common opponents. But Mick and I have a long history together. I played Northside KSC basketball when there was a Cincinnati Recreation League with his older brother Dan, who sits behind the bench all the time. And I like to make fun of Dan. He never passed the ball. His brother never passed the ball in grade school. And he should have, because he knows and I know I was a better player than Dan. And so Mick would be in the car sometimes in the station wagon when we would go from, Friars over to Chevy at Fire. And, every once in a while Mick would start to, taunt us or whatever, and Dan and I would just turn around and beat him up in the back seat.
When you look at UC coming into this game, they're very good with their press and turning over other teams. Is a team that struggled with turnovers in some of the recent games?
Good combination, isn't it? A team that turns it over versus a team that turns you over.
How do you kind of approach that and taking care of the ball better?
We have to have really good floor spacing. We have to be tougher with the basketball. We have to meet our passes. And at the same time, we can't play like we're on a frozen pond and we're waiting for the ice to cave in. We have to play in attack mode. When teams press, if you give them a free press by just getting the ball over half court and taking a sigh of relief, that just increases their pressure because there's no detriment to pressing if you're not scoring. So we've got to make sure that we take care of the ball, number one, and at the same time have an attacking mindset when there's opportunities to score.
And you mentioned after the last game, last 2 games actually, that you needed to figure something out with rebounding. Have you?
No, I haven't figured anything out.
How much do you think rebounding is going to be a big factor?
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, I look at the statistics, and I know UC got out-rebounded at the pit. I don't know how many teams will out-rebound New Mexico at New Mexico. You might be the hardest place in the country to play. We have to do a better job. I don't know what else to tell you. I know that when the shot goes up, inside position is crucial in any game that you play. But when the other team sends 5 players to the glass, if one of them doesn't do their job, then we're not getting the rebound. And if we can get the clean rebound, then we'll have opportunities to break and get out in transition, which is where I think we are at our best. That's it. That was easy.